Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to discuss some of the mental slumps that I've encountered as a solo developer, and more importantly, how I overcome and avoid them. When you're working towards the same goal for months or years at a time, it can be mentally exhausting, and when it doesn't seem like you've made much progress for long stretches, it can get depressing. I've only been working on my game Risk and Riches for 5 months at this point, and I've definitely had a few days where I found it difficult to get to work. However, I've never had a day where I've done nothing simply due to a lack of motivation. And there are 3 reasons for that. 1, I allow myself some time every now and then to remember my why. Anyone who chooses to take on a difficult project should have a reason for doing so. For me, I choose to make games because I want to develop something that impacts people in a way that games have impacted me positively. And I don't know of another career that feels as rewarding and that blends creativity and technology quite in the same way that game development does. And so I'll reflect on the fact that I want to be here at this moment developing my game that I created, and I'll even allow myself, within the realm of reality, to fantasize a bit about what it's going to feel like when I'm done and the game's released. The second thing that keeps me going is I make it a point to have a stable build of my game that's as up to date as possible. The importance of this is that there isn't a long period of time where you can't go back to your game and experience all the progress that you've made. It can easily become overwhelming if you've been working on the same under the hood system for weeks and it's breaking your game and you feel like you've made no progress at all when actually you've done quite a bit. If it's possible, plan out benchmarks when taking on large systems so that you can go back and experience and feel some accomplishment before continuing on. This one is a little situational for me, the last one here, but by making my game development my full-time job, I've removed the luxury of making progress on my game. My long-term financial success is tied to the ability to ship my games, so not working is not an option. Now, I've forced myself into that situation, but many of you can probably replicate it to some degree by putting pressure by instituting milestones and things like that if you're not already working on your own game full-time. What's more important than motivation, though, and what will ensure your game actually gets released, is discipline and consistency. Motivation's a feeling, and it makes it easier to get work done, but it's not the reason that large projects get finished. Discipline is a skill, like any other, that you need to develop over time. To me, it's using your willpower to overcome all of the reasons your body and your mind are telling you not to do something. That's how you can continue to work on the days that you're not motivated for one reason or another. And when you're working on the same project for months or years, there are going to be a lot of days where you're not feeling energetic and motivated. So by having the discipline to keep yourself focused and consistently moving forward on your project, you'll eventually get to the finish line. And if you're working on a project that you care about, which if you're solo or indie dev, I hope you are, eventually you'll hit a point where something inspires you yet again and motivation will kick in and things won't feel like such a slog for a time. There's no easy way to develop discipline. It's just about being consistent with when you work and building that willpower to do what you need to get done if this is important to you. One of the obstacles a lot of solo developers run into is imposter syndrome. If you're not familiar, put simply, imposter syndrome is feeling like you're just pretending to be something and that people are gonna call you out on it or notice that you don't know what you're doing. I think it's just a combination of social anxiety and fear of failure. Nobody wants to be viewed as a failure or lacking. I feel it every once in a while, especially when I'm tackling something new or that becomes more difficult than I anticipated. And then I start to think, what am I doing? Maybe I can't do this. Do I have the skills to finish the game? People are gonna say X. But when I hit those moments, I get stuck in my head a bit and I come back to a few things to break me out of it. One, I take solace in the fact that many developers experience it. It's not just me, it's not just you. I acknowledge that difficult problems are going to arise, and over time, by overcoming those obstacles, I will become better at whatever it is that I'm feeling a lack of confidence over in that moment, whether it's creating sprites or animations or programming or marketing. I revisit my why for choosing to be a developer, and I fall back on discipline and consistency to push past it. And as low as self-doubt from imposter syndrome can get you, the high on the other side of what's hurting your self-confidence is that much greater. Another killer is stress. I've worked in several different environments. I've undertaken a previous entrepreneurial pursuit unrelated to game development, which failed. I've worked as a developer and producer on PC and mobile games, and I've never experienced the levels of stress and pressure that I feel while working as a solo developer. Every moment, I feel like if I'm not making progress on my game, I'm falling behind. I'm not just hitting obstacles in the disciplines that I know, but I'm learning and overcoming issues with new skills that I've never used before. For me, as an experienced programmer, I constantly feel like the art is lagging behind, but then when I take a week or two to work on the art, I now feel like I made no progress on the gameplay. It's a constant juggling act. And burnout is a real thing, and I can't say I've experienced it, but I feel like I've definitely teetered on it. There's one way to avoid it that I know, and that's to take breaks and do things that you enjoy to relieve some of the stress and reset. I work every day, plus I do a half day on Saturday. As much as I can, though, I try and take Sundays off completely. On occasion, I do a half day on Sunday as well, but I'm really trying to be okay with that being the one day where I just don't touch anything. It's hard when you feel like you're falling behind on deadlines, but if you hit the wall and burn yourself out, you're definitely going to fall behind. So whatever it is for you, that little recharge is vital. Even during the days I work, one of the things I've started doing is micro workouts. The advice is that for every hour that you're sitting at the computer, you should get up and walk around for a few minutes. But realistically, that's not going to happen, at least not for me. You get in the zone or have a problem that you can't walk away from before you solve it. So 2 to 3 times a day, when I hit a point where I'm transitioning between different tasks, or I recognize that I do need to get up and move around a bit, I'll do a bit of exercise for 15 minutes and then get back to work. It's healthy. It's one of the ways that help me boost my mindset and energy throughout the day. Long term, I already have a vacation planned later this year, and I'll try and disconnect. But it's also about the time that I'm planning on having a public demo up on Steam. So I'll still probably be checking stats and feedback that I'm getting, but I'll do my best to relax. The last thing I want to touch on is loneliness. This isn't one that I've heard mentioned on other dev channels, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who has experienced it. I'm firmly an introvert, but we all need human interaction for our mental health. For me, the interactions I get throughout the day and week are good enough for my social life. I do want to make a better effort of meeting up with people in person, but that's not the issue I'm talking about when I mean loneliness. The loneliness I experience as a solo developer is more of a professional capacity, of not being able to bounce ideas off of someone or talk to someone about shared difficulties and triumphs. I still haven't found a great remedy for this. It probably involves being more active in developer forums and going to local meetups to build a network of fellow solo and indie devs. And I admit I do need to start being more active in those settings. For now, I try to talk things out with my romantic partner or occasionally with a friend, but it just isn't the same because there isn't that shared experience. It's better than nothing, but it's clearly not filling the need. So I'd say be more social than me and put yourself out there in dev forums and local meetups, and I'll do more to heed my own advice. That's what I got for this one. I'm Peter, the solo developer behind Growlery Games. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and give a like to join me on this journey. I'll see you in the next one.